Trump. It appears somebody did, but we'll find out if this can last us. Some key tests are on the horizon. Hey, everybody, welcome in to the Sanity podcast. Dave Briggs, Allison Camerata, a couple former Fox News and CNN anchors going live for the first time. So we invite your feedback, your questions. Please like this video and please subscribe to the Sanity podcast. This is our maiden voyage on the live YouTube aspect. Do you feel okay about it?
I think it's going really, really well. But guys, put in your comments into the chat because we'll read them and we'll answer any of your questions.
And what we want to know from you is, who do you think is the best person, not just in 2028, but for the next 3 years, to step into the ring with President Trump? Because I think Gavin Newsom finally nailed it. He had his moment. He stepped up to the mic, and I think this guy knows how to fight a bully. I think he's seen a few bullies in his time. Now, Allison, prior to this speech by Gavin Newsom, I thought the strategy of congressional Democrats was a disaster and continues to be, because they're weak and they never have the right message. And I found the perfect sports metaphor for this. You know, every year Democrats play Republicans in baseball. The congressional baseball game raises millions of dollars for charity. Republicans have been dominating it. It happened just a few days ago. And this, I think, is the perfect metaphor for the Democratic strategy.
You're going to use a sports analogy on me, but go ahead, try it.
You're going to get this one. So they were down 13-2, 2 outs, 2 strikes, last batter. Can they mount a rally? Senator Ruben Gallego is at the plate with the game on the line. Can they rally?
In the count, 0-2, and what could be the last strike of the night for the Democrats. And by the way, congratulations to the senator and his family. I hope they have a beautiful, safe, healthy baby. That one's in there for the strikeout, and that's going to do it. What a night for the GOP. They've done it again. 13-2 is your final score. 5 straight. And you know what, Chad, you said coming in, every now and again, you just kind of get on a roll. And from that very first big defense.
So let me just see if I can interpret this correctly. Basically, the analogy that you want, the sports metaphor that you want me to pick up on is that the Democrats keep striking out.
Yes, but that they're not even swinging for the fence. That's the real point here. The game is on the freaking line, and Senator Gallego fake bunted with 2 outs and 2 strikes with the game on the line, down 11. That is the Democrat strategy in a nutshell. That's how they fight.
All right, Dave, I feel like that's hilarious, but I do think that you need to get a reset, because it's interesting. You are the person who on Sanity has been saying, where's the savior? What are Democrats going to do? Who's the Democrat that's going to emerge? And I am the person who has been saying to you, give it time. There'll be a moment. There'll be a moment when somebody unforeseen steps up. And that's how life is. And that's how politics works. There's something unforeseen and somebody shines. And so this is an interesting moment, because I think that you, I mean, if I can speak for you, think that Gavin Newsom has stepped into the sunlight here. I'm not as convinced as you are, but can you make your case for how this might be Gavin Newsom's moment?
I will, and I'll go back a little bit to the point that a lot of Democrats criticized him for the Gavin Newsom show, the podcast where he invited a lot of members of the right and even the way far right onto his show to sit down. I applauded that effort. Democrats ripped him, said you're giving these guys a platform. Hey, I thought that's the type of leader I want to see, that can sit down and go toe-to-toe and talk with anybody on the right or the left. And that's one of the biggest problems in this country. So 1, I thought that was good. 2, Trump sends in the freaking military. He manufactures a crisis. Yes, immigration is an issue. But when you start pulling family members apart, when you start pulling farmers off of a farm or restaurant workers out of a restaurant, people that have never broken any law, yes, they're here illegally, but they are the backbone of our economy, including small business. So Gavin Newsom saw you called in the National Guard and you had the Marines on standby for something that was a local domestic LAPD issue that was like 1 block, 1 mile of 502
Well,
square
furthermore, Dave,
miles.
I mean,
Gavin Newsom.
furthermore, if I can just interrupt, it was also unlawful. I mean, this is according to the, U.S. District Judge. It was unlawful what President Trump did, and it violated the Constitution. So, I mean, I know what I want to hear your case about why Gavin Newsom is particularly poised for this moment. So, do you have sound of how he responded to this?
So he responded very well, but I have to move it forward to explain what he's talking about. He was asked when we were discussing the immigration, he was asked about the military parade happening in Washington, D.C. this weekend on President Trump's birthday. It's been pretty silent from Republicans and from the American public. This is an awful, awful idea, but this is the tact that Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, took on this question. And here's why I think he's the guy.
It's the kind of thing you see Kim Jong-un, you see it Putin, you see it with dictators around the world that are weak and just want to demonstrate strength. Weakness masquerading as strength. To fet the dear leader on his birthday, what an embarrassment. Honestly, that's about as small as it gets. How weak do you have to be to commandeer the military to fet you on your birthday in a vulgar display of weakness? That's Donald Trump.
Do you have an applause button?
I do. I just learned how to use this. Please hold on. Please hold on.
Look, I'm not picking any sides here in this fight. I'm merely saying, no, I'm not. I'm just saying that is how you do it. That is a textbook takedown of Donald Trump, laughing him off, saying he's weak, saying he's small, comparing him to Kim Jong-un, and saying to fet your dear leader on his birthday. How sad, how small. If Donald Trump saw that, he will lose his fucking mind, Allison.
Well, here's my take. My take is, did you hear that?
Yeah, I did, but I'm not sure how it's supporting your take. So go.
Okay. It's supporting, that was just the drum roll for my take. My take is that, I think, I'm not sure why it's been so hard for Democrats to do that. I think you're exactly right. That is the thing that will needle President Trump the most. If Democrats are trying to get under his skin, that is exactly the strategy and the tactic to do so. I don't know why other Democrats haven't done it sooner. My bigger take is that if Gavin Newsom is going to be the savior that, you've been wondering where it is and the Democrats are waiting for, Democrats are going to have to be a lot more forgiving, because Gavin Newsom, it's not like he has some sort of magical Midas touch of instincts. I mean, he makes some political mistakes from time to time, and Democrats are going to have to get used to being okay with that. In other words, when he has a wine party in Napa during the height of COVID, after telling his constituents never to do that, they're going to have to forgive him for that, if you think that that's a huge federal crime. And when he has Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon and platforms them on his podcast, which, as you point out, many Democrats find anathema, they're going to have to forgive him for that. So in other words, this is going to require Democrats to be more flexible than they've shown so far.
It's a very good point, Allison. I had almost forgotten about Gavin Newsom's mistakes. And you know why? Because the news cycle these days moves so damn fast, and I don't think people have any memory of anything. Remember, like 5 days ago when Donald Trump crashed the fucking economy? Like, that's the news cycle we're in. He's breaking laws at such a rapid pace that anything that happened last week doesn't matter, let alone 2-3 years ago. Remember that Cuomo guy that was done, that was buried because of his disgusting, despicable handling of COVID, his frankly killing of senior citizens in New York? He is going to be the mayor of New York City, Allison. I don't think anybody cares about anything anymore as far as the past. Am I wrong?
I have one thing to say to that.
You're getting good at this.
I really am.
I really like your sound
discovered
effects,
this.
man.
I know. So anyway, we should probably. Oh wait, Dave, hold on. There are some
Yes.
chats here. Hold on, just a second. Okay. Hold on. Jamie's.
While you're finding one, I will
Haven't
suggest a
mastered it.
few other people that I think might know how to fight Trump, but we haven't seen it yet. I think the
give it a-
Maryland governor, Wes Moore, looks like a guy that knows how to step in the ring and brawl. I think Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, might, but he needs that moment that Gavin Newsom is having right now.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I would say with Wes Moore and Governor Shapiro, they haven't, as far as I know, had the blemishes that Gavin Newsom has. But Gavin Newsom's just been on the stage longer, So again, I don't, to me, particularly, if there's one thing that President Trump has done, it's proven that politicians with blemishes can win and be forgiven by the party. So if Democrats take a page from that, I do not think these are disqualifying events for Gavin Newsom, but we'll see if Democrats agree with that.
We did reelect a convicted felon with 2 impeachments, multiple affairs, and he paid money to have sex with a porn star. So yeah, I think we're pretty damn forgiving. Although you have pointed this out, I do think Democrats are tougher in that capacity, certainly, than Republicans. But here's what I'm wondering in the next couple of weeks, because there are a couple tests right in front of Gavin Newsom. And one is the handling. He's handled the immigration right. Will he defend? Because Donald Trump finally realized, oh my God, I'm actually hurting the economy. I'm hurting Republicans. I'm hurting small business. And he's doing a bit of.
He also realizes with the immigration, he's just said that he's hurting farms and farmers in our agriculture sector. Yeah.
50% of agriculture workers are said to be undocumented. But Gavin Newsom needs to not defend people that are committing crimes, waving Mexican flags, destroying cop cars. He needs to defend small business and America and working class workers and restaurants that have had to shut down. So he's going to have to play that right. And then go ahead.
Let me just address that, because in that same speech that you just played, I believe it was from the same speech, he used these 3 examples of like kids whose parents have been dragged off. He used examples of people who are being treated in draconian ways. And so I think he's gotten that message that you're not defending anyone with a criminal record, defending like minors who are caught up in all of this.
Yeah, it's been a despicable week in that regard. But another test is in the next couple of days, and it's frankly going on right now, that I do think Gavin Newsom may screw up. And then I'm going to be looking for Wes Moore to step up, because many of you know that there's massive EV mandates in the state of California. In fact, by 2035, they have banned the sale of gas combustion engines, normal gas guzzling cars, banned in California at 2035. That is ludicrous. One of the dumbest things the state of California has ever done, that President Biden supported, that 17 other states adopted. President Trump sued to reverse that. And President Trump is 100% right on this one. You know why I know that? Because GM, General Motors, happens to agree with them. They want those mandates gone because, quite frankly, they know that there is not the demand for EVs to do that. So all it will do is crush this great American car company and maybe send people over the border to buy cars in Nevada. So Gavin Newsom has got to listen to business on this one. And more importantly, Allison, I think if you're a Democrat governor, you need to find a time that you might agree with President Trump, so it doesn't appear that your only issue is opposing everything he does and says.
Well, that's interesting. Again, I don't think that holding Gavin Newsom or any governor to some impeccable record and some impeccable instinct record is going to work. Sometimes you're going to win some, you're going to lose some, I think, if Democrats can behave that way. If Democrats can get their heads around it, sometimes your leaders are going to win some and going to lose some. And I'm all for, I guess, agreeing with President Trump when he gets it right. But in this one in particular, the calling in the National Guard, that one was such an easy one to fight. I can't believe all Democrats aren't screaming from the rafters about it. This is the same president, let's remember, who didn't call in any additional help during January 6th when lawmakers and law enforcement were being attacked and almost killed. So I think that President Trump's record on needing some law enforcement help is not great. And I think that should be an easy one. I mean, back to your sports analogy, it should be a softball for Democrats to talk about this, what he's doing right now in LA. So we'll see. We'll see.
What a staggering contrast. You just pointed out that President Trump did not call in the National Guard to defend congressmen, to defend his vice president, to defend the United States Capitol, but he called them in here to shut down a protest in 1 square mile of Los Angeles to manufacture a crisis because he thinks he has a political winner here. That does remain to be seen. He might be right, but I think, again, Gavin Newsom striking the right tone. You don't think he needs to agree with GM and President Trump on a ridiculous EV mandate? I think that will knock him out of the race in 2028. 9% of cars sold in the United States are EVs.
I'm not saying he doesn't need to agree. I'm not saying he doesn't need to agree. I like that you've brought up that point. I just think that nobody's going to get it 100% right all the time. And so Democrats need to be more forgiving. Nobody's ever going to get it 100% right. But Dave, I feel like on that point, I can't believe I haven't been using this the whole time.
I think you need like like a horn, maybe like when I say something stupid, you need to like hammer me with like a.
Okay, let me see if there's like a horn or a fart noise.
Fart noise would be good.
Oh, now this is interesting. I think you must have added this because unless this is already a well-known sound effect, one here is called Hegseth. I'm not sure what that sound effect is.
That is not a sound effect. That would be like he'd be drinking.
I mean, because if it's a sound effect, it might be dirty. That's all I'm saying.
I think we need a gong.
We need a gong. All right, I'm going to work on that, Dave. I'm going to work on a gong. But anyway, I think that this has gone fantastically, if I do say so myself. So are you ready to wrap?
I enjoyed this very much. I just want to remind everyone to please subscribe to the Sanity podcast. Like this video, drop us your comments. We want this to be a conversation between us, not simply the two of us talking. So we invite questions on anything and everything. And this, I promise, anything you ask me on this channel, I will answer.
Oh, no.
Anything.
Uh-oh. I didn't know you were going to make that promise. That's worrisome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right,
I'll do that.
Okay, cool. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate it. See you next time.